Hello there. I'm here to talk to you about snakes, specifically how they eat. And it is amazing. So they have different parts of their body that help them to do this. Snakes are going to have eyes that help them to see movement. They're very interested in being able to spot something that is showing some sign of movement. So if you're an animal that would be nervous about a snake finding you, one of the best things to do is to sit very still. So snakes pay attention to movement. They also, because their bodies are so much on the ground, their belly surface can feel when the ground is moving or shifting. So that's another way that they are finding their food. But the main thing that they do is use their tongue. So I have a pretend snake here, and he's going to show off his long tongue, which probably in many ways looks different than yours, but it has 2 points on it. So I have a picture of a real tongue to show you. So if you look there, you can see how incredibly long those points are. And the snake's tongues can be many different colors, but these 2 ends of the tongue are going to be helping the snake to locate its food. So let's say the snake is slithering along on the ground using its camouflage colors, possibly, to help hide it, and it comes to 2 lumps that are similar size, and one is a rock and one is a mouse. So the snake is going to be sticking its tongue out, which you can do and I can do, but when I stick my tongue out, I don't get to smell anything. When the snake sticks its tongue out, little particles of that rock or that mouse are floating through the air. They go onto the wet tongue and touch the roof of the snake's mouth when he pulls that tongue into his mouth. And that's the piece of his body, the roof of his mouth. And there's a special organ there that helps the snake to know whether it's food, whether it's danger, whether it's something it should avoid or something it should go closer to. So I have a pretend mouse here, and so if this snake is approaching the mouse and it smells, the mouse is not moving. This mouse is being very smart, and that mouse is sitting still. It knows somehow there's danger nearby. It might be because its extra large ears, its very good nose, or its big eyes has helped it to know that danger is nearby. So that mouse is sitting still. And if the snake is coming close, and the snake somehow, as it's moving, doesn't see movement, but it smells some food on this side of its tongue, which way should the snake go? Should it go this way, straight forward, or should it make a little turn? Well, if it smelled it over here, it's going to do that little bit of a turn. The mouse still isn't moving. He's sitting very still because he knows danger is there. So now he's going to be sticking his tongue in and out, and now he smells something on this side of his tongue. So instead of turning this way or going straight, he's going to turn a little bit closer. And now he smells the mouse or this food on both sides of his tongue, so he knows to go straight ahead. You will see snakes that just have their tongues quietly sitting, so it's not interested in smelling at that time. But often when the snakes are getting ready to eat, trying to figure out where the food is, their tongues will go in and out very quickly, or if the snake is a little nervous about its environment, it wants to make sure it's safe. So their tongues are very important, very different than our tongues. And I wanted to show you some things that snakes choose to eat. And I bet you already have a really good idea. Here is a picture, and it shows, I bet you can figure out the critter that snake is in the process of swallowing. So what that snake has done, it managed to get close to that mouse, and it grabbed it. And inside of a real snake's mouth are going to be all kinds of small teeth that allow it to hold on to the prey. So as this guy gets close to the mouse, he gets closer and closer, and he's like, oh, I know that this is food for me, and he quickly grabs it, and he wraps his body around and uses his muscles and squeezes. This is not a venomous snake. This is a constrictor, and to constrict means to squeeze. So it is using the incredible muscles that line its body, and it is squeezing whatever it is caught, and in this case it is a mouse. And as that mouse is trying to expand its body and take in air. Every time it tries, the snake is going to squeeze a little bit more, and that mouse or that animal is not going to be able to get the air that it needs. And hopefully it's over very quickly for that animal. That animal is no longer alive, and then that snake is going to go in and choose to eat it. Okay, so hopefully that happened very quickly. We can feel sorry for the animal that got eaten, but like I said, the snake cannot go to a grocery store. The mouse is no longer able to run away, so the snake is now going to try to eat it. Now the snake does not carry a knife and a fork. He does not have a microwave or a barbecue. So he does something also very unique, and he's going to open his mouth incredibly wide. What I'd love for you to try to do is open your mouth as wide as you can. Okay, so open it very wide. And where does it start to hurt when we do that? Right there on the sides, right here. You feel that stretch, which we normally don't have to do because we can cut up our food into smaller pieces. Snakes have almost like rubber bands right here that allow their bodies to stretch. Look at the way that skin is stretching. Those scales are being separated out. And here on the chin also, these bones can separate. The skin stays there, but the bones can spread apart to make room for whatever they're swallowing. If we as humans were able to swallow something the way a snake does, you could eat a bagel pretty much the size of a basketball and just swallow the whole thing. Imagine. I am really glad that people don't eat that way. I would not want to sit next to someone doing that. Okay? So it's very unique the way their bodies can swallow, and I'll show you some pictures of it. Here, can you figure out what this snake has caught? This is a snake that used the bumps on its body to climb a tree. And what did it manage to catch? Can you figure it out? That's not fur. Do you see the feathers that are there? And the little feet? So this time, this snake was able to quickly capture a bird. And it has to swallow the whole thing. It has to eat the feet. It has to eat the feathers. It has to eat absolutely everything. Here on the mouse, the snake has to eat the tail. It has to eat the whiskers. It has to eat the toenails. It has to eat the whole thing because snakes have teeth that are good for swallowing and pushing the food back into their mouth, but not good for chewing. Okay, so anytime a snake is going after something, its goal is to swallow the whole thing. Here we have a very different animal. Can you figure out what that snake has captured? Both of them were pretty camouflaged, but he was able to capture it. And here he is swallowing. His body is getting much bigger, so he can wiggle it down. And there it's going further in. Do you see that toad being swallowed and how large it is making the snake's body? And when a snake eats something like this, it might not need to eat for several days or even a week, depending on how large that food was that it swallowed. It is absolutely amazing. Imagine eating once a week. Here is one of my favorites. What is that snake eating? Do you see it? So here we have a king snake. And they are unique in a couple different ways. But one of them is that this snake actually would be able to eat a rattlesnake. No problem. It actually has parts of its body that allow it to be bitten by a rattlesnake, and it's still able to survive. This is a warning color to some animals. You can see here, this is not a rattlesnake, but it has swallowed another snake. And it did not swallow it head first, like a lot of grown-ups will tell you. Snakes always do. But it's eating another snake. Can you believe it? I saved my favorite for last. Here is a snake that has gotten into a bird's nest. Now you think about a nest for a bird. It could have nestlings in it. This one had eggs. Those eggs could be on the ground, or they might be up in a tree, and the snake wiggled up the branches and got to that nest. The eggs, of course, could not run away, so the snake opened its mouth as wide as it could, and look what happened. It swallowed the egg. Look how wide its mouth is stretched. It is amazing how far its mouth can open. So that snake is going to swallow that egg that is not cooked. When it goes into its body, it's going to use these strong muscles and squeeze the egg. What happens when you squeeze an egg? It cracks. The ooey gooey stuff is going to go down into its body, but then it has that sharp eggshell, and that could be dangerous to its stomach. So here is a picture of that same snake. Look how its head shrank after that egg was in its body. It squeezed that egg, got the ooey gooey stuff down, and now it's spitting out the eggshell because that could be dangerous to its skin. Isn't that amazing? I think that is pretty awesome. But like I said, I'm really glad that humans do not eat like that. Here I have a pretend snake. Would have a very difficult time hiding in the woods, not camouflaged at all except for snow, and snow is not a good place for a snake to be. So here's my snake. He would be using his tongue to try to find food, using its eyes to look for movement, feeling on its belly for something that might be moving, trying to run away, but it actually would be able to open its mouth incredibly wide and be able to pull that food in and stretch amazingly. That's one of the reasons I think snakes are so cool. Remember, they're not mean, they're just hungry, and they're trying to figure out the best way to make their bodies strong. Okay? I hope that answered some of your questions about snakes. I think they're super cool. Thanks.